I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. Somebody who loves me.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I was gonna sing a song that relates to our topic today. And I'm gonna be honest, I forgot until just now. I didn't have a bit prior to
There's a song that relates to our topic today?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what we're covering, so.
Well, let me get into frame here.
I don't know why.
And I'll press keybinds. Hello, my name is Fred Stewart, and welcome to Haunts, Graves, and Omens.
Hi, welcome.
With me, as always, my lovely co-host.
It's me. I did not familiarize myself with the keybinds. So here's the hoping I get this right.
So, wide shot.
Yeah.
Me, you, Mannequin,
Marty.
And then Marty. Marty's not here. He had to deal with an emergency. Had some stuff going on. But, you got your favorite ghost and ghoul right here, right now. And we have quite the episode ahead of us, but Tay,
yeah.
I just, I really do want you to just kind of brief me on this, because we've been kind of bringing up news stories every week because they're kind of fun. They're fun to talk about. And you were like, oh, I got to read this news story. And I was like, well, I don't know if we really have time because the episode's pretty thick.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no. I gotta read this.
You don't understand.
I peeked over and read the headline, and I was like, fucking excuse me? And then I was like, oh, it's not that much. And you go, it's actually a lot. And then I was like, oh, that much. So run us through it.
Okay, so hundreds of pounds of cooked pasta mysteriously dumped in the New Jersey woods.
You know what? Not that mysterious in New Jersey.
I mean, so...
Keybine? Hello? There.
Hello? Okay. So apparently around the river basin in Old Bridge, New Jersey, 500 pounds of cooked pasta were just dumped in the woods. 500 pounds of cooked fucking pasta. I was gonna say, I don't know.
Oh, here, I got you.
That's a lot of fucking pasta.
Just showing on our phones.
It's so much pasta.
That is 500. It was just in the woods.
Yeah, no, it's just sitting in the woods.
How? Did they say how they found it?
Someone just came upon it.
Okay.
And most of the pasta was spaghetti and macaroni noodles. That's it.
So, spaghetti macaroni noodles.
Yeah, spaghetti and macaroni noodles.
So you're telling me this is the shittiest version of a leprechaun? is what you're trying to say to me?
He just left noodles. That's it.
All right, man.
They still don't know who did it. Apparently this happened last month.
Mm-hmm.
But they just ran the story. Maybe. I can't tell. Oh, I guess this happened last year. Never mind. I can't fucking read and I don't know what year it is.
That's awesome.
They still don't know who did it though. But yeah, no, just there's a bunch of pasta in the woods. They don't know who did it.
Well, that's quite the New Jersey story.
Yeah.
And it makes even more sense that you bring it up a year later.
Okay, so I looked up weird news stories, expecting it to go in order,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I can't fucking read. I don't know what year it is. And I thought it said March 4th.
Yes.
So I was like, oh.
And you're like, oh.
Recent.
Recently. And it was not recently, in fact.
It was not. But how many people heard about 500 pounds of pasta being dumped in New Jersey?
All the
Did you hear about it?
I heard it around in circles.
No, you fucking did not.
I did.
No.
Yeah.
You did not.
I'm part of the pasta dumping community.
I don't think we can get married anymore.
Don't worry, they're all racist pasta.
Great.
Anyways. Speaking of racist,
Hello? There we go.
technically kind of related again.
Oh.
Now, Tay, cut to a wide shot for me. Boom, bada boom, bada bing. Okay. You don't know what we're covering, and I told you it's a two-parter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, I want to try to set this up for you in the best way possible without giving you any hints. See how long we can go without you knowing who we're talking about.
Sounds good. It'll probably take a minute because I'm very tired.
Okay. So, infamously known for being the figurehead of a bunch of crimes in around the 60s, potentially potentially connected with MK Ultra. Right, you know about MK Ultra?
I do know about MK
Okay,
Ultra.
I know. I've yelled about it a bunch.
And I think we briefly touched on it once.
Yes.
We've never deep dived into it.
Known for being a bit of a kooky guy, but a hit with the ladies.
I don't.
The dead air is fantastic.
I'm trying to think. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think.
Kind of centered around Los Angeles area.
Serial killer?
It's debatable.
Debatable?
Yeah.
It's yes or no.
Some would consider them a serial killer.
Them? Multiple persons?
Multiple persons.
Multiple persons.
Some of those people in the group are definitely serial killers, but we're talking about the figurehead and then the organization combined today.
In LA?
Just, around California.
I don't think I know.
Goes by the name of C. Miles or Millie's Maddox. No?
Nah.
How about this? Charles Manson and the fucking Manson gang?
No, that'll do it.
Manson
there it
crew? Manson family? That's Manson family. We're talking about Charles Manson and Manson family.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Listen, I'm so tired. I'm like, what's going on?
So, if you don't know the story of Charles Manson and you don't like gory shit and really, really fucked up stuff, this is not going to be the episode for you.
Yeah.
And Taylor doesn't like it either.
I don't, yeah. I mean, I can listen to it, but I don't like speaking on it.
Don't like speaking on it. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find the psychology of serial killers fascinating.
Oh, yeah, no, it's very, interesting.
Yes.
I have a hard time, translating it into speech without getting into my emotions.
Totally.
It's just...
Come back to me during the Columbine episode where I was literally crying the entire time. But instead, we're going to talk about the early life of Mr. Charles Millie's Maddox, a.k.a. Charles Manson.
All right.
He was born on November 12th, 1934 to a 15-year-old Ada Kathleen Maddox of Ashland, Kentucky, in the University of Cincinnati Academic Health Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a long sentence, I know.
Yeah.
But Manson's biological father appears to have been a Colonel Walker Henderson Scott Sr. of Catlettsburg, Kentucky, against whom Maddox filed a paternity suit. It resulted in a agreed judgment in 1937. Scott worked intermittently in local mills and a reputation for being a con artist. He allowed Maddox to believe that he was a Army colonel, although colonel was merely his given name. His name is actually Colonel.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm a colonel.
Yeah, but, well, you see, the keybind's not working?
No.
Oh. Well.
There you go.
There you go.
I'll just have to, I guess, click on the... Oh, there go. Oh.
It's not going to work?
I guess not.
Well, fuck.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's mostly going to be on you anyways, except for the bits.
Except for the bits. Yeah, let's, I don't know, dude.
It's fine. It's whatever.
It's
I'm
whatever.
not that worried. But anyways, I'm a colonel. Like what?
I'm a bit of a colonel.
What the fuck?
You're Colonel Sanders. Did he serve the stolen valor?
That's a good question. Did Colonel Sanders be a colonel? Also, why the
Dude, why? He served in Cuba for a few months, was honorably discharged. Interestingly, he did not earn the rank of colonel while in the army, so he's a fucking liar. Anyway, why is what? What were you saying?
Well, I was gonna say, like, why is colonel pronounced like that?
Colonel?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There we go.
It's just doing it. So basically, he, is a con artist.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, the fucking colonel. So when Maddox told Scott that she was pregnant, he informed her that he had been called away on army business. After several months, she realized he had no intention of returning. Jesus. And Manson never grew up knowing his biological father. In August of 1934, before Manson's birth, Maddox married William Eugene Manson, a laborer at a dry cleaning business. Maddox often went on drinking sprees with her brother, Luther Elbert Maddox, leaving Charles with babysitters. Maddox and her husband divorced on April 30th, 1937. Yes?
Oh, there's just like a beeping noise. Have you heard that? My
No.
fucking crate.
Oh, it's probably me touched my watch.
Okay, I was like, what the fuck is
Don't mind me,
happening?
sorry. It's my fidget that I do. It usually doesn't have sound. It's a bomb. Dear listeners,
dude,
you have 15 seconds until the bomb detonates.
I was so fucking
Subscribe
confused.
to the fucking. That's really awful, and I really do apologize. But anyway, so after leaving Charles' babysitters, Maddox and her husband divorced April 30, 1937 after William alleged gross neglect of duty by Maddox. Charles retained William's last name of Manson. On August 1st, 1939, Kathleen and Luther were arrested for assault and robbery. Kathleen and Luther were sentenced to 5 to 10 years of imprisonment, respectively. Mm-hmm. Don't get it fucking twisted. All right. So Manson was placed in a home of an aunt and uncle, and McCann, fuck off, dude. It's West Virginia. His mother was paroled in 1942. Manson later characterized the first weeks after she returned home from prison as the happiest time in his life. Weeks after her release, Manson's family moved to Charleston, West Virginia, where he continually played truant, and his mother spent her evenings drinking and partying.
Oh, great.
Of
course.
Yeah. I think you're just going to have to click on it, Tay.
It'll do it like 2.
I think it's because the batteries are probably dead in that thing. But
Probably.
The family then later moved to Indianapolis, where Maddox met alcoholic Lewis Woodson what the fuck? Cavender. Jesus Christ, Jr. Jesus fuck. I was having such a hard time reading that.
No, that is a weird last name though.
So met Mr. Lewis Cavender Jr. in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and married him in August 1943.
Oh, okay.
So going to meetings, not.
Are the meetings working?
Yeah, they're like, who likes to fucking party?
It's just AA, but just flipped around. Instead of trying to get you to stop, they continue this.
Nobody here's anonymous. I know him over there. That's Steve. Yeah.
You're not supposed to say the name.
Oh. Isn't it weird? Because the whole thing about Alcoholics Anonymous is they come up and they go, hi, my name is whatever.
I think it's supposed to be like...
Am I thinking of support groups? I guess it is a support group, technically.
No, I think it's both.
I don't know, dude.
But like what they do is like, you're not supposed to like bring it up. It's like almost kind of like Fight Club. Like what you talk about is not brought up outside of
understandable
your group.
Now I understand. Kind of. So in an what? In an interview with Diane Sawyer, Manson stated that when he was around age 9, he set his school on fire.
Oh, shit.
Which is obviously a good start. He also got respectively in trouble at home for truancy and petty theft. Although there was a lack of foster home placements in 1947, at the age of 13, Manson was placed at the Gilbert School for Boys in Terre Haute, Indiana, a school for male delinquents run by Catholic priests.
That always turns out really well.
Never bad anything ever happens with a bunch of Catholic priests and a bunch of boys that are troubled.
That has never happened.
It's never happened. So obviously the school was very strict, where punishments for even the smallest infraction included beatings with either a wooden paddle or a leather strap.
God.
My dad. I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast. My dad was an outlaw biker back in the day. Got into some shit.
Yeah. And
he was a naughty boy. He's not as naughty now because he's fucking huge. Can't run very fast. But he doesn't watch this. And if you are, call me. But basically, he would tell me stories of, like, I remember we were driving around Vancouver, Washington, and we're driving past a Catholic school, and he goes, "I used to go to school there." And I was like, "You went to a Catholic boys' school?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, the nuns used to go, you'd be talking in class, and he'd go, there'd be some Irish nun would pop up and go, 'Oh, Mr. Hammer, put your hands across the desk.'" Okay, and then take a fucking yardstick and bam across your fucking hands. It's like, whoa, dude. Different,
yeah.
Totally different. Dude, now, dude, catching a case.
Oh, yeah.
All
no,
right.
for sure. Also, you say your dad doesn't watch this. My dad just started watching this along with my stepmom.
Oh, shit. What's up, homies?
What's up?
So anyway, Manson realizes this place fucking blows, runs away and sleeps in the woods, under bridges, and pretty much wherever he can find shelter.
Yeah.
He flees home to his mother and spent Christmas 1947 at his aunt and uncle's house in West Virginia. However, his mother returned him to this boys' school.
Jesus.
She's like, "You didn't learn your lesson about getting beat by Catholic priests." 10 months later, he ran away to Indianapolis. It was there in 1948 Manson committed his first documented crime by robbing a grocery store. At first, to simply find something to eat. However, Manson found a cigar box containing over $100.
Oh.
Which he used to rent a room on the Indianapolis Skid Row and buy food.
Yeah.
Can't say I blame him.
Yeah, on that one.
He's a fucking kid running away, just trying to survive.
Yeah.
I can't fault him for that. So for a time, Manson had a job delivering messages for Western Union in an attempt to live honestly. However, he quickly began to supplement his wages through theft. He eventually was caught, and in 1949, a sympathetic judge sent him to Boys Town, which I know sounds like
It sounds like
a fucking a summer camp,
It sounds like
it's the boys, dude. It's fucking Boys Town, dude. Talk about girls and shit.
It sounds like a boys camp, but it's like for musical theater. Is what it sounds like.
Welcome to Boys Town.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like it'd be for like musical theater, but I know it's not going to be.
Yeah, in fact, it's a juvenile detention facility in Omaha, Nebraska.
It actually sounds kind of cool, and then you know what it is, and you're like, oh.
Well, it's like the whole joke about waterboarding.
Ooh.
It's like waterboarding sounds really fun if you don't know what those two things mean. It does.
Yeah.
You guys want to go waterboarding today? Like, yeah, dude, send it. And then
No.
they're just waterboarding their friend at a dark shed. And they're like, "Tell us your secrets." So after 4 days at Boys Town, he and a fellow student by the name of Blackie Nielsen obtained a gun and stole a fucking car.
Oh, shit.
Badass. They used it to commit 2 more armed robberies on their way home. Nielsen's uncle in Peoria, Illinois. Nielsen's uncle was a professional thief, and when the 2 boys arrived, he allegedly took them on as apprentices. Fuck yeah, dude. It's a cool crime story. So Manson was arrested 2 weeks later during a nighttime raid on the Peoria store. In the investigation that followed, he was linked to his earlier armed robberies, and he was sent to the Indiana Boys School.
That doesnn't have as cool as a name
As Boys
Town.
Yeah, in fact, this one was a way worse. It was the strict reform school outside of Plainfield, Indiana.
I like Boys Town
better.
Like the name of it.
Yeah,
they both
dude,
probably
Boys Town
fucking suck.
Boys Town sounds awesome, dude.
Boys Town sounds like it would be kind of fun.
You know, it's like right now, dude, Boys Town's probably like an Airbnb, dude. They're like, you trying to like, is your wife a bitch and you trying to watch a Super Bowl this weekend? Get on Airbnb and rent out Boys Town.
It sounds like it would be like a all boys outdoor school.
Boys Town? No,
Yeah.
Boys Town. You were right when you first said it. That Boys Town absolutely sounds like musical theater like thing, where like Manson gets there and he's like in his shackles and they're like, "All right, get out there, fucking Manson, get out there," and he's just like, "Goddamn pigs."
Yeah.
And then like this big dude walks up and he's like, "You Charles?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, "You like Macbeth?" It's like, what?
Guess what? Guess who you're playing.
So, glad we got our laughs out now because the rest of it's pretty fucked. So, at the Indiana Boys School, other students allegedly raped Manson at the encouragement of a staff member, and he was repeatedly beaten.
Jeez.
He ran away the school 18 times.
Wow.
Manson developed a self-defense technique he later called the insane game, in which he would screech, grimace, and wave his arms to convince stronger aggressors that he was insane. After a number of failed attempts, he escaped with two of the boys in February 1951. The three escapees robbed filling stations while attempting to drive to California in stolen cars until they were arrested in Utah. For the federal crime of driving a stolen car across state lines, Manson was sent to Washington, D.C.'s National Training School for Boys, which sounds even worse than the last couple, personally.
Yeah.
On arrival, he was given an aptitude test, which was determined that he was illiterate, but had above average IQ of 109. A caseworker deemed that he was also aggressively antisocial. So.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point.
Yeah, it's not great. So, on a psychiatrist's recommendation, Manson was transferred in October 1951 to the Natural Bridge Honor Camp, a minimum security institution in Virginia. His aunt visited him and told administrators she would let him stay at her house and help him find work. Manson had a parole hearing scheduled for February 1952. However, he was caught raping someone at knife point in the facility. Manson was transferred to the Federal Reformatory in Petersburg, Virginia, where he committed a further, quote, 8 serious disciplinary offenses and 3 involving, quote, homosexual acts.
Jesus.
So he was moved to the maximum security reformatory in somewhere in Ohio, where he was expected to remain until his release on his 21st birthday, November 1955. Good behavior led to an early release of May 1954 to live with his aunt and uncle in West Virginia. So what started off as a kid, you know, in a troubled growing up, quickly delved into deviancy in the worst form,
which you do see quite often. Like, it's a cycle of abuse that just continues.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And I mean, you can look at his life. He's been effectively rejected, except by his aunt and uncle, who are like, we'll hold on to him tight. And they really, to give him the benefit of the doubt, they really do try. You know, they were like, bring him out here. We'll find him work. We'll do. And even before that, they're like, bring him out here. He fucking ran over there, you know. Yeah. But old mom shows up and goes, "You're going back to the hole." And fucking sends him back. Just like, just getting taken away, and then he grows up in that system.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this is clearly how I'm supposed to act. People do awful things to me. I have to do awful things to people.
Yeah.
You know.
It's unfortunately a very common thing.
Yeah. So if you look right here today, you can see right here in 1956, that's Charles Manson. I'll put that up somewhere, maybe, perhaps. It'll be on the socials. But it's right. It'll be right there. Check it out. That's Charles Manson at age 21.
Wow.
At the Federal Correction Institute in Terminal Island.
Doesn't even really like.
No, he's 21. He's a small dude, so he looks super young too. You know.
Yeah.
In January 1955, Manson married a hospital waitress named Rosie Jean Willis. Around October, after about 3 months, he and his pregnant wife, arrived in Los Angeles in a car that he had stolen in Ohio. Manson was again charged with a federal crime of taking a stolen vehicle across state lines.
Of course.
Of course he was. After a psychiatric evaluation, he was given 5 years probation. Manson's failure to appear at a Los Angeles hearing of an identical charge filed in Florida resulted in his March 1956 arrest in Indianapolis. Dude was fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
His probation was revoked, and he was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment at Terminal Island, Los Angeles, California, which is that photo that you just saw.
Yeah.
While Manson was in prison, Rosalind gave birth to their son, Charles Manson Jr.
Oh.
Yes. During his first year at Terminal Island, Manson received visits from Rosalind and his mother, who were now living together in Los Angeles. In March of 1957, the visits from his wife ceased. His mother informed him that Rosalind was living with another man. Less than 2 weeks before a scheduled parole hearing, Manson tried to escape by stealing a car. He was given 5 years probation, and his parole was denied.
Surprise. That's what happens.
Yes.
When you try to break out of prison.
So Manson received 5 years parole in September 1958, same year in which Rosalind received a decree of divorce. By November, he was pimping a 16-year-old girl and receiving additional support from a girl with wealthy parents. In 1959, he pleaded guilty to a charge of attempting to cash a forged U.S. Treasury check, which he claimed to have stolen from a mailbox. The latter charge was dropped. He received a 10-year suspended sentence and probation after a young woman named Leona Ray Candy Stevens, who had an arrest record for prostitution, made a, quote, tearful plea before the court that she and Manson were, quote, deeply in love and would marry if Charlie were freed.
Oh.
Before the year's end, the woman did marry Manson, possibly so she would not be required to testify against him. Not really, This is, they're pretty sure it's a girl he's pimping.
Yeah.
So it's more like,
Because there's the stupid, like, spousal
yes.
thing.
Yes.
Which is so weird to me, by the way. Like, I get it, but I don't, you know?
Yes.
Like,
You know, fucking, you know, it's like if you were spiteful against something, like he fucking killed him.
yeah.
And I was like, no, I did it. You saw.
Saw what?
Don't you fucking try. You saw me kill that guy. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I get it, but I also don't get it at the same time.
Yeah. I saw what you're leading me into. I was like, I wanted to, like, not do the bit, but that's super funny. So Manson took Leona and another woman to New Mexico for purposes of prostitution, resulting in him being held in question for violating the Mann Act, which the Mann Act, for those of you, let me go pull that up for you. It's a federal law that basically it's like many cities in like America doesn't illegally like protect it against like prostitution. Essentially, it's like basically like it's pimping. Essentially what it is. Though he was released, Manson correctly suspended that investigation had not ended. When he disappeared in a violation of probation, a bench warrant was issued. An indictment for violation of the Mann Act followed in April 1960. Following the arrest of one of the women for prostitution, Manson was arrested in June in Laredo, Texas, and was returned to Los Angeles. For violating his probation on the check cashing charge, he was ordered to serve a 10-year sentence.
Fuck. Well.
Dude has spent the majority of his life in prisons so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of what happens when you violate your parole.
Yes. So Manson spent a year trying unsuccessfully to appeal the revocation of his probation. In July of 1961, he was transferred from the Los Angeles County Jail to the United States Penitentiary at McNeil Island, Washington. There, he took guitar lessons from the Barker Karpus gang leader Alvin Creepy Karpus, which is a fucking wild. I'm not even gonna touch it. That's that. Creepy's I got a homie named Chato. There's a lot going on. Had obtained from another inmate the contact information of Phil Kaufman, the producer at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Oh.
Among Manson's fellow prisoners during this time were future actor Danny Trejo. Machete.
I didn't realize he'd been in prison.
Yeah, that's a well-known fact about Danny Trejo.
Listen, I don't know much about him.
Pretty sure that's where he got all his tats.
Probably. It's just what?
Yeah, so the two of them actually participated in several hypnosis sessions together.
Oh.
Manson's mother moved to Washington State to be closer to him during his McNeil Island incarceration, working nearby as a waitress. Although the Mann Act charge had been dropped, the attempt to cash the Treasury check was still a federal offense. Obviously. Manson's September 1961 annual review noted that he had, quote, tremendous drive to call attention to himself, an observation echoed in September of 1964. In 1963, Leona was granted a divorce. During the process, she alleged that she and Manson had a son, Charles Luther Manson. According to a popular urban legend, Manson auditioned unsuccessfully for the Monkees, and he was obviously refuted for the fact that he was in prison. And the Monkees were, they were a popular pop band from the mid-'60s in Los Angeles. So they're like, hey, man, when can you show for practice? And he's like, 10 years? Got it? There you go, champ.
Yeah, that's doesn't quite make a lot of sense.
No. So, yeah, it's...
Can you make practice weekly, or is that going to be a problem?
Ooh, that's going to be tough for me. Can you guys drive? You drive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just need you to drive up to fucking this goddamn, this prison up in Washington State. Come grab me each week.
I don't think we're be able to do that.
Yeah. So in June of 1966, Manson was sent for the second time to Terminal Island in preparation for early release. By the time of his release day on March 21st, 1967, he had spent more than half of his 32 years in prisons and other institutions. This was mainly because he had broken federal laws. Womp womp. Federal sentences were and remain much more severe than the state sentences for many of the same offenses, telling the authorities that prison had become his home and he had requested permission to stay.
What? He was just like, I guess I gotta stay.
Yeah, I like it here. It's, I like it here.
Maybe he didn't sound like that yet.
I like it here.
That was not.
I promise not to steal any more cars.
I don't think he sounded like that either.
I fucking will. Don't call me Charlie Manson for no reason. So, less than a month after his 1967 release, Manson moved to Berkeley from Los Angeles, which could have been a probation violation. Instead, after calling the San Francisco probation office upon his arrival, he was transferred to the supervision of criminology doctoral research and federal probation officer Roger Smith. Until the spring of 1968, Smith worked at the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, also known as the HAFMC, if you will, which Manson and his family came to frequently. Roger Smith, as well as the HAFMC's founder David Smith, received funding from the National Institute of Health and reportedly the CIA. to study the effects of drugs like LSD and methamphetamine on counterculture movement in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So there is actually, I don't think I have it in here, but there was a known thing where like basically they were those guys with that organization, if you will, 3-letter agency, would basically stand in a college, right? This would be around this time, but Charles Manson, as you may know, is one with the ladies.
Yeah.
He had a huge following of later on we'll talk about it, but like had a huge following of women following him. Yeah. Right? You could sing. He's kind of a handsome guy in a way, for some. I think he's fucking creepy, but just, it was the 60s. People didn't care. People didn't have standards. And basically like there was a whole story about one of the guys who was part of the program or like had gone there. Basically they would stand out there with government grade acid, and then they'd be like, are you willing, hey ma'am, do you want to take this acid, trip a little bit, come back in like a day, tell us what happened, because we're studying the effects on the brain.
Yeah, no, fuck it.
And
why not?
Charles Manson would come up with a fucking shitload of women and be like, I'm gonna need like 3 sheets, 4 sheets, whatever.
Yeah.
And they'd go, here you go, and they'd just pass it to him and be like, peace.
Yeah, no, I did know that they would stand outside of colleges and be like, hey, what you want? You want to do some drugs? They really pulled like a man in an alley with a trench coat, like, you want some drugs?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking wild that they did that.
It is absolutely wild they did it. Also, the fact of methamphetamine is insane. They're like, what, meth or LSD? Basically, the patients had at the HAFMC became subjects of the research, including Manson and his expanding group of mostly female followers who came to see Roger Smith regularly. Manson received permission from Roger Smith to move to Berkeley to the Haight-Ashbury district. He first took LSD and would use it frequently during his time there. David Smith, who had studied the effects of LSD and amphetamines in rodents, wrote that the change in Manson's personality during the time was, quote, was the most abrupt Roger Smith had observed in his entire professional career. Mm-hmm.
Listen.
I'm listening.
That's pretty sketch.
Gotta love MK Ultra.
Do you think that MK Ultra helped fuel what is to come?
They didn't help. I don't think MK Ultra effectively was like.
I don't think it was like the sole purpose, like the sole cause.
No. It's the CIA doing CIA shit.
I don't think it helped.
Also, I'm gonna start getting into MK Ultra, and I really don't have the time to get into it. But around this time, when they were developing government grade acid, the CIA allegedly, effectively found a small town's water supply in France, and then dosed it with like thousands upon thousands of hits of LSD, and then it just sat on a hill and watched.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Guess what happened? You ever seen the movie The Crazies? That's what it's based off of. Anyway.
Like, I feel like they've definitely done shit in the U.S. too, but.
Yeah. Well, they
allegedly.
They absolutely. You're getting me fucking riled up, dude. Because I want to start talking about it. Because they absolutely did. There was allegedly one of the founders. Wrong one. One of the founders of MK Ultra allegedly fucking went to a zoo. I think it was around San Francisco, and would just carry around a fucking blow dart with like 1,000 hits of LSD in it. And like the common thing around the office was them dosing each other with LSD. Not 1,000 hits, but like they'd be like, "Yeah, how's your coffee this morning, Tay?" Be like,
it's fine.
yeah, put like 3 hits of acid in that. Like,
You did fucking what?
Like, you fucking pranked me, you bitch. They start panicking.
Dude.
But like they would do that shit all the time. But allegedly, one of the founders of MK Ultra went to a zoo and saw an elephant and was like, huh. And fucking hit this elephant with like 1,000 hits of acid, of LSD. And it fucking died. Apparently it spun in circles and puked until it died.
Wow.
Allegedly. We'll do an MK Ultra episode eventually.
I feel like you should do that one.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've kind of touched on it in some of our episodes. Kind of touched on it. Didn't really deep dive into it, but you absolutely know more about it than I do. And I'm sure you can find more information than I will be able to find.
I was about to make a very poor joke, but yes, it's the elephant fucking deserved it. So basically, he basically just began to keep using LSD. And Manson also read the book Stranger in a Strange Land, a science fiction novel by Robert Heinlein, inspired by the begrudging free love philosophy of the Haight-Ashbury during the Summer of Love. Manson began preaching his own philosophy based on the mixture of Stranger in a Strange Land, the Bible, Scientology, Dale Carnegie, and the fucking Beatles, which earned him a following.
It's always good when you bring Scientology into it.
It's always good when you bring the fucking Beatles into it. Ugh. Anyway.
Listen, I think the Beatles are less of a cult than Scientology.
Now, yeah. Back then, I don't think so. Honestly, dude, fuck the Beatles, dude. I said it, dude. You're a bunch of bugs.
No.
You're a bunch of, how are bugs playing music?
No.
They don't fucking play music, they're bugs. All right?
No, it's beat as in B-E-A-T. Not B-E-E-T.
Bunch of bugs.
Did I add an extra E in there?
They're like, oh, brother, you misspelled the name.
It's the Beatles.
It's the Beatles.
It's just a bunch of fucking bees.
Yeah. And now the summer's hottest, the Beatles. And everybody's like, yeah. And like thousands of bees get released into a studio. Like, oh, fuck. Turns out we got the wrong Beatles. Someone check backstage and make sure there's not actual Beatles backstage playing music. Anyway, so he may have also borrowed some of his philosophy from the Process Church of the Final Judgment, whose members believed Satan would become reconciled to Jesus and would come together at the end of the world to judge humanity. Now, what I'm about to say is the most unsurprising thing for Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay. Manson began studying Scientology while incarcerated with the help of fellow inmate Laner Rayner. And the July 1961 listed Scientology as a religion. So, dude immediately is like, that sounds pretty cool, I'm gonna join that. And then like hopped on it.
Yeah.
In September 1961, prison report argues that Manson appeared to have developed a certain amount of insight into his problems through his study of this discipline. If it works for you, it works for you. Another prison report in August of 1966 stated that Manson was no longer an advocate for Scientology. Dude fucking bailed in 6 years. Or, no. 5 years. Upon his release in 1967, Manson traveled to Los Angeles, where he reportedly, quote, met local Scientologists and attended several parties for movie stars. Manson completed 150 hours of auditing, which, if you want to fucking hear about Scientology, this is going to be an ad for a podcast that has no idea we're even on the spectrum. But last podcast on the left, go listen to their Scientology episodes, all of them. to hear about auditing. His right-hand man, Bruce Davis, worked at the Church of Scientology headquarters in London from November 1968 to November 1969. So they were doing a lot of auditing towards a man hopped up on LSD.
You know, that is an episode that or topic we should cover is Scientology.
No, I'm gonna have any lawyers.
Oh, that's fair.
They'll fucking sue us out of the water.
It's fair.
This is definitely my first beer. Shortly after relocating to San Francisco, Manson became acquainted with Mary Brunner, a 23-year-old graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Brunner was working as a library assistant at the University of California, Berkeley. Manson, until that point, was making a living panhandling. Moved in with her. Smooth with it. Manson then met a teenage runaway named Lynette Frome. Who later was named Squeaky and convinced her to live with him and Brunner. I think it's Brunner. Yeah, according to the secondhand account, Manson overcame Brunner's initial resistance to him bringing another woman in to live with them. Before long, they were sharing Brunner's residence with 18 other women.
Jesus Christ.
Man. I just... That's a lot. Manson targeted individuals for manipulation who were emotionally insecure and social outcasts, but living in what I can only assume to be a 2-bedroom apartment with 18 other women is insane.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Because I like to imagine, you know, them being like, this guy's handsome. He's so handsome. Look at this guy. I like this guy. This guy's a handsome fella, you know? And then they're coming up and they're like trying to put the moves on Charlie, and he's like, I'm too busy studying the waves. It's like he's on like 40 hits of LSD. And he's like, I can see God through time. And they're like, okay, maybe later. That's cool. So Manson established himself as a guru, surprise, in the Haight-Ashbury, which during the Summer of Love was emerging as the signature hippie locale. Manson soon had the first of his followers, most of them female. They were later dubbed the Manson family by Los Angeles prosecutor Vincent Belozzi. And the media. Manson allegedly taught his followers that they were the reincarnation of the original Christians and that the establishment could be categorized as the Romans.
Oh.
It's not a cult. It's just a bunch of people hanging out.
Yeah.
Having a good time in a cult.
Yeah.
Sometime around 1967, Manson began using the alias Charles Willis Manson. Before the end of the summer, he and some of his followers began traveling in an old school bus they had adapted, putting colored rugs and pillows in place of many seats they had removed. They eventually settled in Los Angeles areas of Topanga Canyon, Malibu, and Venice along the coast. Hitting those fucking 60s Cali vibes, you know what I'm saying? With your fucking weird cult.
Yeah, no.
In 1967, Brunner became pregnant by Manson. On April 15th, 1968, she gave birth to their son, who she named Valentine Michael, in a condemned house where they were living in Topanga Canyon. She was assisted by several of the young women from the family. Best way to put it. Brunner, like most of the group, acquired a number of aliases and nicknames, including, Mary O'Shea, Oach, Mother Mary, Mary Manson, Linda D. Manson, and Christine Marie Utes.
That's what it looks like.
Great. In his book, Love Needs Care, about his time at the HMFC, David Smith claimed that Manson attempted to reprogram his followers' minds by, to quote, simply submit totally to his will through the use of, quote, LSD and unconventional sexual practices that would turn his followers into, quote, empty vessels that would accept anything he poured.
Oh.
mainly cum.
I don't know why. Didn't expect you to say that.
It's the Manson family.
Took me off guard.
That dude is shooting. It's a 60s dude, summer love dude. He's a weird little guy hopped up in LSD. Bro is shooting his brogurt like it's going out of style. All right?
It's a fucking sentence I never thought I'd ever hear.
Sentences that have never been said before.
Yeah, basically.
Put that on Reddit. Manson family member Paul Watkins testified that Manson would encourage the group LSD trips and take lower doses himself to, quote, keep his wits about him. I don't want to be all fucked up. You guys could be fucking crazy. But for me, absolutely not. I gotta be sane. I'm the fucking sanest one here.
Okay.
So anyway, Watkins stated that, quote, Charlie's trip was to program us all to submit. By the end of his stay in the Height in April 1968, Manson had attracted 20 or so followers, all under the supervision of Robert Smith and many of the staff at the HAFMC, which what I was talking about earlier, which is where he would come up and be like, I'm gonna need about 5 fucking sheets of acid.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, you got it, Charlie. And they're like, who are these women? Like, she's kind of cute. And she's like, don't talk to them. Hey, baby, you want to go take a bunch of acid? I got to keep my wits about me. So.
It's so weird.
I don't understand.
Me neither.
I think that because he is smart. We know that he is technically smart.
Yeah.
He's a huge piece of shit, but he's technically smart. And I think that combined, and have you heard Charles Manson singing?
No.
I will try to find it.
I
will try to find it by the end of this podcast.
Can recall.
And I will play it for the podcast. But it's absurd. Like, dude can actually sing. So, like, imagine it's the summer of free love. Some dude's giving you free drugs. You know?
Yeah.
He's got a suave voice. I don't care that he's like 3 feet tall. How tall is Charles Manson?
Taller than 3 feet. My guess is like 5'9", 5'10".
No way he's 5'10".
No.
He's 5'2".
Oh shit.
Yeah, he said 5'10".
I don't know.
No.
I didn't know he was that short.
Charles Manson's fucking tiny. He's like,
I'm taller than him. I'm only 5'3". We're like the same height, him and I.
he's tiny.
That's wild.
He's tiny. He's a freak.
Dude. All I could think of is, have you seen the TikTok trend where they're like, what do I look like from my boyfriend's perspective? And they hold their phone up.
Yeah.
All I can think of is that, but with Charles Manson.
Just
looking up at you.
He's like the size of this can.
Yeah.
And we're like, huh.
That's all I can think of right now.
Yeah. So the core members of Manson's following eventually included Brunner, Charles Tex Watson, a musician and former actor, Bobby Solelli, a former musician and pornographic actor, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten. I always fucking struggle with the Bobby's name. So, supervised by his parole officer Roger Smith, his very shitty parole officer, Manson grew his family through drug use and prostitution without interference from authorities. Manson was arrested on July 31st, 1967 for attempting to prevent the arrest of one of his followers, Ruth Ann Morehouse, which is better than Ruth Ann No House. Instead, Manson was sent back to prison. The charge was reduced to a misdemeanor, and Manson was given an additional 3 years of probation. He avoided prosecution again in July of 1968 when he and the family were arrested while moving to Los Angeles when his bus crashed into a ditch. Manson and members of the family, including Brunner and Manson's newborn baby, were found sleeping naked by police.
Oh.
Afterwards, he was again arrested and released only a few days later, this time on a drug charge. Mm. So, I know you're wondering, where do the Beach Boys come into this?
It's not a thought that crossed my mind.
What do you mean? You never thought about the Beach Boys?
In the same vein as Charles Manson? No.
So,
Not once have I thought about, man, I wonder if there's any connection between the Beach Boys and Charles Manson. Never thought that. We haven't even mentioned them at all before this exact sentence.
I know you've been thinking about it this entire episode. And don't worry, we're finally here. On April 6, 1968, Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys was driving through Malibu when he noticed two female hitchhikers, Quinn Winkle and Ella Jo Bailey. He picked them up and dropped them off at their destination. On April 11th, Wilson noticed the same two girls hitchhiking again. This time, took them to his home on Sunset Boulevard. Nonetheless, Wilson later recalled that he told the girls about the involvement with the Maharishi, which Maharishi being a meditation guru guy.
Oh.
And they told him that they also had a guru, a guy named Charlie, who had come out of jail after about 12 years.
Oh.
Wilson then went to a recording session. When he later returned that night, he was met in his driveway by Manson. And when Wilson walked into his home, about a dozen people were occupying the premises, most of them young women.
I'm just fucking, what?
Yeah.
What?
So dude goes and records some hits, comes back, and he's like, oh, that must be Charles. Hey, Charles, pleasure to meet you, Charles. Hey, Charles, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. And then he turns back around, and then it's just yeah, I brought these women here. Just fucking women everywhere. And you're like, okay, there's a lot of people here.
You think you could get them out of my house, or?
They're just around the premises. By Manson's own account, he had met Wilson at least one prior occasion at a friend's San Francisco house where Manson had gone to obtain marijuana.
Of course.
Manson claimed that Wilson invited him to his home when Manson came to Los Angeles, which I'm sure he doesn't remember or ever did.
Yeah, no.
You remember? You invited me, remember?
I think I would remember you.
No, remember I went to go buy the weed, and then you were like, come to my house. I live at 14440 Sunset Boulevard.
I don't think I ever said that.
How did I get here if I've never been here? If we didn't have this conversation?
I picked up two of your girls hitchhiking.
I don't know. I've never met them a day in my life.
Your Charles Manson voice sounds very similar to a Beetlejuice voice, by the way.
I was as I was doing it, I'm like, what are some Adam from Hasbin?
You're starting to sound like Alex Brightman.
Hey, you want some ribs? Oh yeah, get these ribs. Fucking got you, bitch.
Yeah, love it. I got to do a nerd podcast where I just talk about Hasbin Hotel and all the other fun shows I've been watching. Anyway, Wilson was initially fascinated by Manson, and his followers referred to him as the Wizard in a Rave magazine article at the time. The two struck a friendship, and over the next few months, members of the Manson family, mostly women, were treated as servants, were housed at Wilson's residence, and the arrangement persisted for about 6 months. Fucked up as it is, give him jobs. He's not feeding them LSD and then being like, I am your god.
I mean, he might still be doing that, nonetheless.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Brian Wilson.
I don't know. That just seems a little sketch to me.
Yeah, it's worded bad.
Yeah.
It's
I don't think there's a good way to word that.
They were working there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess saying
and they live there. So it's like in-home servants. You know, it's like, hey, you get to live here, and I'll give you food and housing. All you gotta do is mow the fucking lawn once a week.
Yeah, I mean, they could absolutely word it better, but I don't know, it just sounds kind of...
Meanwhile, Charlie's in the background just being like,
I'm gonna fucking kill everybody in this house.
It just sounds kind of sketch.
It does sound kind of sketch. Wilson introduced Manson to a few friends in the music business, including the Byrds producer Terry Melcher. Manson recorded numerous songs at Brian Wilson's home studio, although the recordings remain unheard by the public, which is actually super incorrect. If I knew where my phone was, I could pull up a song.
I assume it's in a pocket somewhere.
Yes. I'll see if I can pull up a Charles Manson song for you real quick.
Sounds good.
So in September 1968, Wilson recorded a Manson song for the Beach Boys, and originally titled "Cease to Exist," but reworked as "Never Learn to Not Love" as a single B-side released the following December.
Oh.
The writing was credited solely to Wilson. When asked why Manson was not credited, Wilson explained that Manson relinquished his publishing rights in favor of about $100,000 worth of stuff.
You know what? That's fair. What kind of stuff are we talking? Are we talking drugs?
$100,000 worth of stuff.
There's things. Listen, he gave me this pencil and that couch and...
He gave me like $100,000 worth of pencils. Let me just verify that this is the exact one I'm thinking of. I think this is...
I don't know, man. Is it?
I'm pretty sure... hold on. Because I was going to pull this up, but I forgot. Because I'm fucking stupid.
I feel that. Me too, honestly. Is that?
Yes, that this is it. Now, I don't know if the pod track is turned on.
I do not know.
Oh, I know it's turned on. Hold on. Don't go anywhere.
He's moving. He's on the move. He's on the move and messing with stuff. Ah, there it is.
Just come and say you love me. Give up your world.
Dude, that gives me
That was Cease to Exist. Not by Suicide Silence, might I mention.
so that gives me like
The Heebie-Jeeps?
kind of horror movie vibes.
Yes, dude.
And like
As fucked up as he was, God, he made good music. You know, it's like the guy who shot the president. Was it John Hinckley? He makes music.
which president was shot?
Reagan?
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know. There's been quite a
Reagan,
few.
JFK, Roosevelt.
I was like, there's been a few.
JFK technically 3 times. Twice.
You're
And-
forgetting also Lincoln,
Oh, I'm forgetting Lincoln.
one of the most infamous, I suppose.
Yeah. Enjoying the play, Mr. President?
He's not.
So around this time, the Manson family destroyed 2 of Wilson's luxury cars.
Ooh.
You know, Wilson eventually distanced himself from Manson and moved out of the Sunset Boulevard house, leaving the family there, and subsequently took residence at a basement apartment in Santa Monica. Virtually all of Wilson's household and possessions were stolen by the Manson family, and the members were evicted from his home 3 weeks before the lease was scheduled to expire. When Manson subsequently sought further contact, he left a bullet with Wilson's housekeeper to be delivered with a threatening message.
Oh.
I'm gonna get you. Band member Nick Grillo recalled that Wilson became concerned after Manson had got, quote, into much heavier drug situation, taking a tremendous amount of acid, and Dennis wouldn't tolerate it and asked him to leave. It was difficult for Dennis because he was, quote, afraid of Charlie. Writing in his 2016 memoir, Mike Love recalled Wilson saying, there's my phone, saying he had witnessed Manson shooting a black man in half with an M16 rifle and hiding the body inside of a well.
Oh.
Wilson said Melcher said that Wilson had been aware that the family were, quote, killing people and had been, quote, so freaked out he just didn't want to live anymore. He was afraid and thought that he should have gone to the authorities, but he didn't, and the rest of it happened. Now, we are kind of starting to dip towards the end game of the Manson family. The end-all, be-all of the Manson family.
Okay.
So the Manson family established a base for the family at Spawn Ranch in August of 1968 after their eviction from Wilson's residence. The ranch had been a television and movie set for westerns, but the buildings had deteriorated by the late 1960s. The ranch then derived revenue primarily from selling horseback rides. Female family members did chores around the ranch and occasionally had sex on Manson's orders with the nearly 80-year-old blind owner, George Spahn.
Oh. Ugh.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. It's like he started to kind of like return to his like pimping.
He has not left his pimping. He has been doing his pimping this entire time.
Yeah.
The entire time.
The fact that like no one like tried to get him on any of that is also kind of wild to me, but
they were all so fucking deep-seated. They loved him. The women also acted as guides for him, for George Spahn. Sure. In exchange, Spahn allowed Manson and his group to live in the ranch rent-free. So the Manson family evolved naturally into a doomsday cult when Manson became fixated on the idea of imminent apocalyptic race war between America's black minority and the larger white population. Him being a white supremacist, Manson told the family that black people would rise up and kill the entire white population except for Manson and his followers, but that they were not intelligent enough to survive on their own.
what the fuck?
So he goes, you leave, you're going to die when the race war starts. They would need a white man to lead them, so they would serve Manson as their, quote, master. And in late 1968, Manson adopted the fucking famous term that we all know that surrounds Charles Manson of helter skelter, taking from the song on the Beatles' recently released album, the White Album, referring to this upcoming war. Yes. So, if you've survived this long in this podcast and you've listened to it, it's about to get a whole lot fucking worse.
Yeah.
A whole lot worse, in fact.
Yeah.
In fact, it's about to get really fucking bad. On March 23rd, 1969, Manson entered the grounds of 10050 CeeLo Drive, which had been known as Melcher's residence. He was not invited. No shit. As he approached the main house, Manson was met by Shirak Hatim, an Iranian photographer who had befriended film director Roman Polanski and his wife Sharon Tate during the making the documentary Mia and Roman. Hatami was there to photograph Tate before she had departed for Rome the following day. Seeing Manson approach, Hatami had gone on to the front porch and asked him what he wanted. Manson said that he was looking for Melcher, whose name Hatami did not recognize. Hatami told that the place was the Polanski residence and that they were advised him to try the path to the guest house beyond the main house. Tate appeared behind Hatami in the house's front door and asked him who was calling. Hatami and Tate maintained their positions while Manson went back to the guest house without a word, returned to the front for a minute or two, and then left. That evening, Manson returned to the property again and went to the guest house. He entered the enclosed porch and spoke to Alto Belli, the owner, who had just come out of the shower. Manson asked for Melcher, but Alto Belli felt that Manson was actually looking for him. It was later discovered that Manson had apparently been to the property on earlier occasions after Melcher left. Ottobelli told Manson, though, the screen door that Melcher had moved to Malibu. Sorry, told him through the screen door that Melcher had actually moved to Malibu, and said that he did not know his address, although he did. Ottobelli told Manson that he was leaving the country the next day, and Manson said he would like to speak to him upon his return. Ottobelli said that he would be gone for more than a year. Manson said that he had been directed to the guest house by the persons in the main house. Ottobelli asked Manson to not disturb his tenants. Ottobelli and Tate flew together to Rome the next day. Tate asked whether that creepy-looking guy had gone to see him in the guest house the next day before. And they kind of just go. They go off to Rome. That was the first encounter with Manson family and Sharon Tate, which, if you know the story of the Manson family, know what's coming. But it's just this otherwise harmless encounter.
Yeah.
He's fucking weird, and he's like, hey, I'm just looking for this guy. He's like, I'm looking for this guy. But he's like, I'm looking for this guy. Do you know where he is? And they're like, I don't know. Check the other house. And so they go back there, and he's like, he's out there in Malibu.
Yeah.
Just homies helping homies, being like, I don't know, he's somewhere. Go look for him. Go to Malibu. Malibu's a big place. Go. So let's talk about the crimes of the Manson family. So Tex Watson, who was infamously portrayed in one of the last Quentin Tarantino films, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know if they used his actual name, but portrayed as a character like that.
Yeah.
Tex Watson became involved in drug dealing and robbed a 22-year-old rival named Bernard Latza Papa Crow. Crow allegedly responded to the threat to kill anyone at Spawn Ranch. In response, Manson fucking shot him on July 1st, 1969 at Manson's Hollywood apartment. Oh. Manson's belief that he had killed Crow was seamlessly confirmed by news reports of the discovery of a dumped body of a Black Panther in Los Angeles. Although Crow was not a member of Black Panthers, Manson concluded that he had been and expected retaliation from the Panthers. He turned to Spawn Ranch into a defensive camp, establishing night patrols by armed guards. Watson would later write, quote, Blackie was trying to get the chosen ones. Manson thought brought in members of the Straight Satan's Motorcycle Club to act as security. So, we're going to go to the Hinman murder. 34-year-old Gary Allen Hinman, a music teacher and graduate at the UCLA, had previously befriended members of the family and allowed some of them occasionally to stay at his home in Topanga Canyon. I hope I'm saying that right. According to Atkins, Manson believed Hinman was wealthy and sent her, Brunner, and Bosnelli to Hinman's home to convince him to join the family and turn over the assets to Manson, although Hinman... the assets that Manson thought that Hinman had inherited. The three held Hinman hostage for 2 days in late July 1969, as he denied having any money at all. During this time, Manson arrived with a sword and slashed his face and ear.
Oof.
After that, Boselli stabbed Hinman to death, allegedly on Manson's instructions. Before leaving the residence, Boselli or one of the other women used Hinman's blood to write the words "Political Piggy" on the wall and draw a panther paw, which was a Black Panther symbol.
Yeah.
According to Boselli, he came to Hinman's home to recover money paid to Hinman for mescaline provided to the straight Satans that had supposedly been bad. Boselli added that Brunner and Atkins, unaware of his intent, went along to visit Hinman. Atkins, in her 1971 autobiography, wrote that Manson directed Boselli and Brunner and to go to Hinman's and to get supposed inheritance of $21,000. Fucking yada yada yada.
Yeah.
she said that 2 days earlier, Manson had told her privately that, quote, if she wanted to do something important, she could kill Hinman and get his fucking money. So Boselli was arrested on August 6, 1969. After he was caught driving Hinman's car, police found the murder weapon in the tire well.
Yeah.
So we come down to one of the most infamous crime the Manson family commits, and this is the most fucked up one of them all.
Yeah.
This is the worst one. On the night of August 8th, 1969, Watson took Atkins, Kronwinkel, and Linda Casabane, Jesus fucking Christ. Look, Linda. Fucking, who cares? They're all scumbags. To 10050 CeeLo Drive. Watson later claimed that Manson had instructed them to go to the house and, quote, totally destroy everyone in it, and to do it as gruesome as you can. Manson told the women to do as Watson instructed them. The occupants of CeeLo Drive house that evening were Tate, age 26, who was 8.5 months pregnant, her friend and former lover, 35-year-old J.A. Sebring, a noted celebrity hairstylist, Polanski's 32-year-old best friend, Wojciech Fralski, and Fralski's 25-year-old girlfriend, Abigail Ann Folger, heiress to the Folgers' coffee fortune and daughter of Peter Folger. Also present on the property were 19-year-old caretaker William Garrettson and his friend, 18-year-old Stephen Earl Parent. Polanski was in Europe working on a film. Music producer Quincy Jones was a friend of Sebring, who had planned to join him that evening before changing his mind. Watson and 3 women arrived at the address just past midnight on August 9th. Watson climbed a telephone pole near the entrance of the gate and cut the phone line to the house. The group then backed their car to the bottom of the hill that led to the estate before walking back up to the house. Thinking that the gate might be electrified or equipped with an alarm, they climbed the brushy embankment to the right of the gate and entered the grounds. Headlights approached the group from within the property. Watson ordered the women to lie in the bushes. He stepped out and ordered the approaching driver, Parent, to halt. Watson then leveled a .22 caliber revolver at Parent, who begged him not to hurt him, claiming that he wouldn't say anything. Watson lunged at Parent with a knife, giving him a defensive slash wound on the palm of his hand that severed tendons and tore the boy's watch off his wrist, and shot him 4 times in the chest and abdomen, killing him in the front seat of his 1965 AMC Ambassador coupe. Watson then looked over at the women and ordered them to help push the car up the driveway. Watson next cut the screen window and told Kabasin to keep watch down the gate. She walked over to Parent's car and waited. Watson removed the screen, entered through the window, and let Atkins and Krenwinkel through the front door. She whispered to Atkins and awoke Fralski, who was sleeping on the living room couch. Watson kicked him in the head. Fralski asked him who he was and what he was doing there. Watson replied with one of the fucking most horrifying quotes of all time, something that lives on in cinema history over and over again, because it's truly the fucking scariest thing in the world. He looks down at this poor boy and goes, "I am the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business." On Watson's direction, Atkins found the house's 3 other occupants with Kronwinkel's help, forced them to the living room. Watson began to tie up Tate and Sebring together by their necks with a long nylon rope, which he had bought, and slung it over the living room ceiling beams. Sebring protested throughout treatment of Tate, so Watson shot him. Folger was taken back momentarily to her bedroom for her purse. She gave the murderers $70. That's what she had. That's when, the best way to put it without talking about it, is a absolute fucking bloodbath. I mean, it gives me the biggest chills and I'm choosing not to read it for the sake of those families of that, because we can talk about people getting shot, you know, and it's horrifying, and it's horrifying.
Yeah.
This is it's incredibly inhumane. I mean, all of it's inhumane, but it's fucking horrific.
Yeah.
What these people endured. Basically, like, Atkins was stabbed and then fought his way to the porch and then was shot. Kabassian heard the horrifying sounds, moved towards the house from a position in the driveway. She told Atkins that someone was coming in an attempt to stop the murders. Inside the house, Folger escaped Krenwinkel and fled out the bedroom door to the pool area. Krenwinkel pursued her and caught her in the front yard, where she was killed. Watson then helped her. The assailants proceeded to almost ritualistically stab her multiple times. They attempted. I'm trying to, talk about it or not talk about it.
Yeah.
Fought till the fucking end. At the end of it, Fralowski suffered 51 stab wounds and had also been struck 13 times in the head with the butt of Watson's gun, which bent the barrel and broke off one side of the gun grip, which was actually recovered at the scene. Best way to put this is they ended up killing, obviously, Tate horrifically, and she ended up succumbing to her injuries. Was determined by the coroner as massive hemorrhage, which while Sebring's murder, it was found he was hanged. So this is all at Charles Manson's directive.
Yeah.
It is, and like I said, I have given you these pieces of things. If you wanna know the fucked up details, go read it. But it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Incredible, I mean, like an incredibly inhumane bloodbath. Yeah. So according to Watson, Manson had told the women to, quote, leave a sign, something witchy. Atkins then reaches down and grabs some of Sharon Tate's blood and writes the words pig on her front door. Atkins claims she did this to copycat the Hinman murder scene in order to get Boselli out of jail, who was in custody for that murder. We're not done yet. So the four murderers plus Manson, Leslie Van Houten, and Clem Gorgon went for a drive the following night. Manson allegedly displeased with the previous night's murders, so he told Kabasin to drive to a house on 3301 Waverly Drive in the Los Feliz section of Los Angeles. Located next door to a home where Manson and the family members had attended a party the previous year, belonged to a 44-year-old supermarket executive, Lino LaBianca. LaBianca, thank you. And his 43-year-old wife, Rosemary LaBianca. Jesus.
LaBianca.
I struggle with those names, the worst. Coworker at a dress shop. According to Atkins and Kabassian, if I'm saying her name wrong, I don't give a fuck. These guys are scumbags. Manson disappeared up the driveway and returned to say that he had tied up the house occupants. Watson and Krenwinkel and Van Houten entered the property. Watson claims in his autobiography that Manson went up alone, then returned to take him up to the house with him. Manson pointed out the sleeping man in the window, and the two entered through the unlocked back door. So they pretty much do this the exact same way. They wake him up, they bring him into the living room, they tie him up with lamp cords. Watson had complained to Manson earlier of the inadequacy of the previous night's weapons. Watson sent the women from the kitchen to the bedroom where Rosemary had been returned, while he went to the living room and began to stab Lino with a chrome-plated bayonet. So begins to stab this man repeatedly. Watson heard a scuffle in the bedroom, went over to discover Rosemary, keeping the woman at bay by swinging a lamp tied to her neck. He stabbed her several times with the bayonet, then returned to the living room and resumed attacking Leno, who he had stabbed a total of 12 times. And to add the weird fucking cult mix to it, he opens he basically begins to carve into the man's shirt or the man's chest and writes the words "war" across his body. Watson then returned to the bedroom and found Krenwinkel stabbing Rosemary with a knife from the kitchen. Van Houten, all of them begin to join in. Van Houten claimed at trial that Rosemary was already dead during the time of stabbing. Evidence showed that one of the many of the 41 stab wounds had in fact been inflicted post-mortem. Watson then cleared off the bayonet and showered while Krenwinkel wrote "Rise" and "Death to Pigs" on the walls and helter skelter on the refrigerator door and the blood of the victims. She gave Leno 14 puncture wounds with an ivory-handled two-tinned carving fork, which he had left jutting out of his stomach, and had proceeded to add more horrific things to it. Meanwhile, Manson drove the other 3 family members who had departed to spawn with him that evening to the Venice home of Lebanese actor Saladin Nader. Manson left them there and drove back to Spawn Ranch, leaving them in the La Bianca killers to hitchhike home. According to Kabassian, Manson wanted his followers to murder Nader in his home, but Kabassian claims she was thwarted this murder by deliberately knocking on the wrong apartment door and waking a stranger. The group abandoned the murder plan and left, but Atkins defecated in a stairwell on the way out.
Oh, gross.
So he shits everywhere as they leave. We're not done yet. Almost. So, 35-year-old Hollywood stuntman Donald Jerome Shorty Shea was murdered on August 26, 1969, more than 2 weeks after the Tate LaBianca murders, when Manson told Shea, Bruce Davis, Tex Watson, Steve Grogan, to go on a ride to a nearby car parts yard on the Spawn Ranch. According to Davis, he had sat in the backseat with Grogan, who then hit Shea with a pipe wrench, and Watson began to stab him. They brought Shea down the hill behind the ranch and stabbed and brutally tortured him to death. Bruce Davis recalled this at his parole hearings, quote, "I was in the car when Steve Grogan hit Shorty with a pipe wrench. Charles Watson stabbed him. I was in the backseat with Grogan. They took Shorty out. They went down the hill. I stayed in the car for a little longer. Then I went down the hill to a place. So I went down the hill later on, and that's when I cut Shorty on the shoulder with a knife after he was, well, I don't know. I don't know if he was dead or not. He didn't bleed when I cut him in the shoulder. When I showed up, he was incapacitated. I don't know if you asked if he was unconscious. I don't know. He may have or may not have been. He didn't seem conscious. He wasn't moving or saying anything. And when I started off, Manson handed me a machete as I was supposed to. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know what he wanted, but, I couldn't do that. In fact, I did touch Shorty Shea with a machete on the back of his neck. Didn't break the skin. I just couldn't do it. And then I threw the knife, and he had handed me a bayonet, and I reached over, and I don't know which side it was on, but I cut him right about there on the shoulder, just where the tip of the blade, sort of kind of saying, "Are you satisfied, Charlie?" And I turned back around and walked away, and I was sick for about 2-3 days. I couldn't even talk about what I had done. In December of 1977, Shea's skeletal remains were discovered in a nondescript hillside near Santa Susana Road, next to Spawn Ranch, after Grogan, one of those convicted of the murder, agreed to aid authorities in the recovery of Shay's body by drawing a map to its location. According to the autopsy report, his body suffered multiple stab wounds and chopping to the chest, blunt force trauma to the head, and a horrific death. But that is where we end part 1 of the Manson family and Charles Manson.
Man.
Fucking A.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And I even was like cutting some shit out.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that Charles Manson guy's not a very nice guy.
You're just now starting to think that?
I was sort of thinking it before I even started the episode.
Oh, yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking wild.
He makes pretty decent music, but goddamn is he a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking it is. You didn't have to read what I read and what I know about the Sharon Tate murders.
I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've coincidentally enough, in Los Angeles, the Museum of Death, they have crime scene photos of all the Manson murders.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you firsthand, they were like original crime scene photos. Tell you firsthand, they're fucking bad. They're bad. I mean, any murder crime scene photo is horrific, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's insane. But next week, we'll be talking about how the Manson family was captured and what happened to old Charlie Manson.
I can't say it. That's a spoiler.
He got arrested.
That you can say.
If you have no idea who Charles Manson is and it's your first time hearing it, don't look it up. Spoilers.
Yeah.
He died.
You just say he died.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he's fucking dead.
He's fucking dead. But we'll get to that. We'll get our sweet victory moment next episode.
Yeah.
But if you had, I won't even say if you had fun because it's not fun. But if you found this podcast particularly interesting, or if you like to send your family members weird YouTube videos or whatever, like, share, subscribe, do your business. You know what to do. Rate us 5 stars and listen to that. Want to follow us on Instagram? You can at HGOPodcast. You can follow us on TikTok at HGOPodcast. Want to email us? You can at HGOPodcast@gmail.com. And I promise I'm going to start working on TikTok stuff. I've just been fucking busy. But want to follow me on Instagram? You can at iHuntTheHaunted. Please follow me on Twitch. I stream 4 days a week. I stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Mondays are Monster Monday. I've been playing very scary games. And they're very, 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 very fucking scary. Burping. Wouldn't be this podcast if I didn't burp. Twitch.tv/iHuntTheHaunted. And I'll pass it off to Tay.
I totally forgot to zoom in. That's fine. It is what it is. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Lunar Thrill. Those are my only social medias, really. You can also follow my dog, who's passed the fuck out right now. You can follow her at Spirit the Turv on Instagram.
Spirit the Turv.
I'll get better about posting. Let's see here. Marty.
You can follow me at Ghetto Feather.
And until next week, my spooky friends, and also we have a fun little thing that we're working on. So I don't know if it's this week or next week that we're gonna be down for like 2 weeks. So, I know that's it's a shame, but it's all for a good reason. It's for a very good reason. But when that comes, we'll let you know. But remember to stay spooky,
Stay haunted,
and fuck Charles Manson. Not literally.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously.
Can't fuck a corpse. I guess you can't if you try hard enough.
Isn't he cremated?
Huh?
Isn't he cremated?
You can fuck dust.
I don't think you can.
You can.
Uh,
Bye.
I wouldn't.